This is what we call Hero Square. Because of the two heroes that you can see here, the one right behind me is Prince Eugene from Savoy. He was a French prince and he grew up at the French court in Paris as the fifth in line of the children of his family, and therefore he should have gone for a spiritual career. Because traditionally the oldest one always inherited everything, the second one usually went for a military career, and the rest did something in the church. But all he wanted was to become a soldier. But he was only about 1.60 meters tall, physically not very strong, a little bit hunchbacked, and on top of everything, to say the least, not very good looking.
Oh, poor guy.
So, yes. At the French court at the time, everything had to be beautiful, so he did not stand a chance. They would not take him into the army. So very frustrated, he left Paris and came to Vienna at exactly the right time, 1683, and this is when the Ottoman Turks besieged the city of Vienna for the second time. So the Austrian army needed every man, and the Austrian emperor looked very much like him, so they liked each other right away. And good thing they took him into the army, because he turned out to be a military genius. And it was basically due to his strategics that the Ottoman Turks finally could be defeated after more than 250 years that they threatened the city. So very often we refer to him as the savior of Christian Europe. Without him, most probably today, the borders in Europe would look very much different. If that would be better or worse, I don't know, but they would look different. Over there, he is not all that famous in our history, Archduke Charles, but he was the first one to defeat Napoleon in 1809. Now Napoleon defeated him again just 2 weeks later in the next battle, but he did away with the myth that Napoleon was invincible, and that started Napoleon's decline. And for the first time, at least here in Vienna, an artist managed to put the whole weight of 20 tons of that monument on only 2 points, the 2 hind legs of the horse. It looks very much alive. It's just in the course of jumping. But the Viennese are always a bit on the conservative side. And they love to criticize and to complain. Be careful, it's only the Viennese who are allowed to criticize about things here in Vienna. So they said this looked too revolutionary. So when he made the second one over here, he had to make it more static, and he also used the tail of the horse as a third point. So he took this criticism so bad that he committed suicide.
Oh.
And this is something that has happened quite a lot here in Vienna. Many of our today very respected and famous artists, they were not respected and famous during their lifetimes. They only became that after they died. So here in Vienna we say that you have to die before they let you live. But then you live a very long life. So this whole complex of the former downtown Imperial Palace, it all started off in the middle of the 13th century, 1250, when they built a medieval fortress with 4 towers and moats around it and drawing bridges. And ever since then, every emperor wanted to leave his own mark and added another building and another building, not in a harmonious way, like a Schönbrunn Palace. So in this whole complex, we have all the different architectural styles of the last 650 years. Today, it is mainly used as museums, starting here with the Museum of Ethnology. Then the semicircular part here is the youngest part. It was only finished in 1913, and the idea was to build sort of an imperial forum, like in Rome. But then the First World War came. At the end of the First World War, there was no empire anymore, so the second part opposite has never been done. On the ground floor of the semicircular part, you would find the reading halls of our National Library. A little bit farther behind, you'd find a beautiful Baroque-style hall, the main hall of our National Library, where we keep about 200,000 of the most precious and oldest books and scriptures. Then 4 floors underground, this whole complex, you'd find a huge depot where we keep about the rest of about 8 million books and scriptures of the National Library. Up on the first floor, you would find the Ephesus Museum. In Ephesus in Turkey, there are Austrian historians who excavate. They have brought nice pieces. You would also find a museum of old armors, old arms, old instruments. Right behind me, where you can see the many flags, this is the entrance to different sized ballrooms. And these ballrooms are used for 2 things these days. On one hand as a convention center, and on the other hand for a tradition that we cherish a lot here. And these are the balls during our carnival season. From the time of around Christmas until the middle of February, there are more than 300 balls organized here in Vienna. Every association, if it's the hunters or the fishermen, and every group of professionals, from the chimney sweepers to the pastry chefs to the lawyers, they all organize their own balls. They're taking place in the ballrooms of the old palaces, and then all the ladies have to dress up in long dresses, and the gentlemen in their tuxedos or in their uniforms, and then we dance to the music of Strauss. We're hopelessly romantic here. Where you see the green facade, that part, in there you would find imperial apartments, very similar to the ones that we have seen at Schönbrunn Palace, until Schönbrunn Palace was built and they moved in the middle of the 18th century. This was the residence. And then after that, this was the winter residence, and Schönbrunn was the summer residence. So, except that down here they focus on Empress Elizabeth, the famous Sisi, wife of Emperor Franz Joseph. While at Schönbrunn Palace they focus on Empress Maria Theresa, who actually started the palace there. And where you can see the two flags on top of the roof there, underneath are the offices of our president, Mr. Heinz Fischer. Right next to it, the yellow building, a little bit lower, there are the offices of our prime minister. While we are a democratic republic with a president who is more of a representation figure, even though he's also in charge of the Austrian Navy, and he also has the power to dissolve the parliament, which has never happened so far. And he is voted in a direct popular vote for a term of 6 years, and then he appoints the prime minister from the strongest party after the elections for a 4-year term. And farther behind you would also find the Imperial Chapel, in which the famous Vienna boys choir sing Holy Mass every Sunday since more than 500 years now. Not the same boys though anymore. Are some of you from Australia?
All just about all of us.
Well, do you?
We don't worry about those.
All right, I've got something for you too. Good. Australia. Do you know that you have direct descendants of the Vienna Boys Choir in Australia?
No.
Because the Vienna Boys Choir is always divided into 4 choirs. One is attending to the Holy Masses here. Another one is always busy with all kinds of filming projects. And 2 are touring all over the world. And at the beginning of the Second World War, one of these choirs got stuck in Sydney and was not able to come back. So Australian families took these boys in, and many of them have never come back. I just last year had a lady who was a daughter of one of these boys, and she had come to see where her father had come from.
Wow.
And I also have something for you New Zealanders. You have a Franz Joseph glacier. That comes from our Emperor Franz Joseph, because he paid for and financed the expedition who found and discovered the Franz Joseph Glacier, and they named it after him. So we have connections there. You would also find the stables of the Spanish riding school behind there. Actually, from where we're going to stop with the bus, it's only a 2-minute walk. If you're interested, just ask me, I'll point you in the direction. It's only in 1938. The 2 last, well, the present Pope and the Pope before him, they were here to celebrate Holy Mass. John Paul II twice, and Pope Benedict last year. And, well, by the way, here in Austria we say that when angels travel, the weather will be accordingly. So thank you very much for your visit. Look at this. Angels certainly stayed in Rome. It was pouring rain and a terrible storm for the whole 3 days. And, well, what you can see down this way, the building with the green roof is the former court theatre, and the building with the tower is the town hall. We will go right past that with the bus. And the portal where we came in through, this always used to be an entrance door when we still had the city walls. And this part here was blown up by the troops of Napoleon before they left in 1809. They did not rebuild at the time, but they rebuilt it later to celebrate that Napoleon had been defeated. And just across the street behind the barred windows there is a memorial chapel to all the victims of war, no matter on which side they were. Now if you'd like to take some photographs,